welcome to another episode of Sweet 915. And I just want to say before we get started, it's NFL Sunday again, and we thank you for tuning in with us as we talk about COVID-19 numbers climbing, election, early voting ends October 30th. So get out and vote. We've been doing really, really good with voting as we watch the website and watch the numbers continue to grow. But I'm your host, Curtis Smith, and I have my co-host.
It's me, Fedora.
It's
How
me,
you doing today,
Fedora.
Curtis?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, my Steelers won today, so I'm very happy.
Oh, okay.
Very happy. It was nerve wracking because
Congratulations.
they pulled out at the end because of a missed field goal. So
Oh,
a win is a win, and we got a big game next week. So hopefully uh, they'll pull it out and they'll get focused again.
I hope
But
so.
remember that we want to hear from you all. If you'd like to be a guest on the Sweet 915, email us at the real Sweet 915 at gmail.com
.com. Mm-hmm.
and let us know what your topics would be, and we would love to have you. We were continuing our series on knowing when to leave toxic situations. The focus is narcissism, the millenniums, and the Gen Z demographics. We want to discuss with the Generation X and baby boomer generations. We want to hear from you. So if you want to be on the show, reach out to us and let's talk about it. The young adults. We want to hear from you, the elders, on the different perspectives from relationships. We just don't want to hear from the older generation. We want to hear from you as well. So feel free to
Yep.
contact us and become a part of this show. So today's show, we're going to continue to talk about. Remember, it's Cancer Awareness Month, and it's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we have
Yep.
a special guest today that she wants to share her story, and we were glad that she came on, Miss Shauna Battle.
Hello.
Hi,
Hey,
Shauna. How are
hey,
you?
Shauna.
Hi, how are y'all?
Good.
Good.
We're good. We're good. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Okay,
Great.
that's good. You got any NFL teams you support?
I'm a Georgia to the day I die. So I know our Falcons ain't doing too well, but I
Uh,
love them still. Okay.
okay. Well, I don't know if they won today. I was. It's okay though. It's okay though. So everyone, this is Shauna. You want to tell a little bit about yourself, Shauna, before we get started? Like what you do? You want to share
Okay.
that with us?
I'm a mother of four daughters. I did 13 years in the Army. I'm medically discharged. I'm originally from Thomasville, Georgia. Go Bulldogs. And well, I just love living life and giving back and doing different things and trying to be a positive role model for my kids.
That's outstanding. That's outstanding. That's great. Uh, so today we're going to talk a little bit about domestic violence, and this is the disclaimer, everyone. We are not we are not doctors, mental health specialists that we can, you know, uh, give advice on domestic violence, but we can share information with you. And that's why we have Miss Shauna Battle on today to tell her story, and maybe this can inspire other people to get out and my hostess says. She says that you are not alone, so you can get out there and you know just share your story or get out of a
Mhm.
situation that you don't want to be in anymore because of your fear of wanting to talk.
Yeah.
So
Remember,
we
your
have,
stories will help someone else.
yeah, there you
Yep.
go. So we're going to get started. So Miss Battle, we understand that you've been in a domestic violence relationship or domestic relationship. So we just want to know how long were you in that particular relationship?
Well, I was only in for 3 years, and
3 years.
but it lasts the 3 years that we were married. But after the fact, the after fact was still an effect on me as well for like the next 5 years of living in
Okay.
fear that something would happen. Because I got a restraining order and all that stuff, and we had two kids together, so we had to do the co-parenting thing with that. But yeah, the marriage was 3 years, but we stayed separated for years because of fear. If I divorced or did anything, that he would react.
Mm, okay. Okay. Wow. So you were married at the time. So how did the abuse begin? Was it verbal or was it physical?
In the beginning, it was more of controlling. Why
Control.
you here? Why you going here? Then it got verbal, cussing me out in front of the kids. And then the last thing was it got physical at the end. And in the beginning, I seek a counselor when I was in the army, and
Mhm.
you always try to downplay everything because you don't
Right.
really don't want people to know what you're going through or asking you the question why,
Okay.
and stuff like that. So you look at your kids and you look at the whole everything, and then you just and it just was just a lot going on with it.
So you both of you were active duty soldiers or just you at the
Just
time?
me, just
Just
me.
you.
Hmm.
And we talked about this last week, and some people answered the question. So was it hard for you to go to your counseling sessions without letting your leadership know, or were they okay with you going to your appointments without letting them know where you were going?
I just went. I just told them I had an appointment,
Okay.
and I just went. I had a doctor's appointment. I think it was more of an embarrass for me
Uh,
as a person. I'm supposed to be this strong person in the military, strong person within my family. So I think it was a more of embarrassment for me that I let that happen to me or was in that kind of situation.
oh, okay. Okay. Because yeah, we discussed it last week, and like you're saying, if you want to seek help while you're in the military or a veteran, that you should go seek the help and not be afraid to
Hmm.
uh, get the help that you need, because like you just said, you just tell them I got a doctor's appointment, nobody questioned you about it, and you were able to get some type of counseling so that you can continue your career until you were medically discharged. So those are the things that soldiers need to see right now, that hey,
Yeah.
it's okay to seek help if you're in a situation like that. It's like you say, you were embarrassed, and that's the same thing for everybody. However, you did leap out and say, I need to get help.
Hmm.
I need to talk to somebody before I lose it. I got my kids to think about, and I need to feel safe. Okay. Okay. Fedora.
I have a question, Shauna. So when you guys were married, you said that you had separated for a while and you stayed separated instead of getting a divorce.
Hmm.
And you said because you didn't want any type of retaliation. What type of retaliation was that you thought you would get? Was it towards you or would it be towards your kids or both?
I thought
And
it
would
was.
it have been physical?
I thought it would have been towards me because of the actions. Um,
Mhm.
can I just tell like a little part of what
Because, like you
happened
just
till
said,
it
you
got
just tell
to
them.
it?
Yes, yes,
Um,
ma'am.
we had went home because I was having a surgery. I was having a pelvic reconstruction surgery. So we went home to take the kids home so he can, help be able to help me more. And it was a day I just felt like something bad was gonna happen, you know. And I told him, he like, no, I don't feel that way, whatever. And it ended up being that was the second time he put his hands on me. And he did it in front of his family, and they did nothing. They just sat there and watched. And he did it in front of my kids. And my oldest is not his. And the only thing he said was, um, Peanut the only one crying. So I ain't worried about the rest of it. So when all of that happened, I canceled his plane ticket to go back because I was like, I'm not finna go back, be in this situation, going through surgery, couldn't walk for 3 months based off the surgery. And so when I got back, I didn't think he was in the house. So I walked in with my friend because she had my keys, so she's checking my mailbox and stuff. And the house smelled funny, but I was gone for 30 days, so And then,
Mhm.
but we walked all through the house, looked everywhere, not thinking to look under the bed. So I told her, I said, girl, he ain't here, you can go. So
Wow.
I go upstairs to get ready to change clothes to go back to her house because she had cooked or whatever. And I went in the room, and as I was walking in, he came behind me with a knife.
Oh,
Yes.
Jesus.
And
Okay.
in Alaska, we have like these, I used to put blankets on my window because of the sun 24 hours a day almost. So
Uh-huh.
he's like, if you scream, this will be the last time you scream. So I looked at
Wow.
him and I looked at those things and I snatched them down and the windows was open. And he's like, what are you doing? I said, if you kill me, they're going to hear you kill me,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. So he had me hostage in the house for like almost 2 hours. So
Mm.
I was downstairs and he went in the kitchen and he kept walking back and forth. So one time he stayed a little bit longer and I ran out and I left.
Oh,
So
thank God.
yeah, so I left. So I got a restraining order and I was living with my friends and stuff like that. But it was one day I was outside washing my truck, like I
Mm.
always do on a Saturday, and he pulls up And that scared me to death, and I'm sitting there shaking, trying to wash my truck. I'm like, I don't care about no paper. That ain't gonna stop me if I really want to do something to you, and stuff like that. He will come if I'm out, like, I used to club back in the day. If I'm at a club, he'll text me, I see you. So it was just that part that made me fearful, because when he got the restraining order, he wrote on it, if you leave me, this gonna happen. If you do this gonna happen. So for years, I lived in fear of divorcing. And he told me, if we divorce, don't you take my name away, keep my name, and all this kind of. So he would say stuff like that. And then literally the papers, he had laid them on the floor, and he wrote on all of them,
Mm.
and all this kind of stuff, like saying just saying to me demonic stuff, real crazy stuff to me. So I didn't divorce him, and we got married. I think we separated like in 2006. So right now, so you had my surgery. We didn't get a divorce until 2013. Yeah, because
Wow.
he would.
Okay.
It was like one night he texted me and called me like 23 times, threatening me.
Wow.
So I was in fear.
Yeah.
So
And during this time, you had the restraining order. So,
had to.
what did the police? What were they able to do?
Well,
Like,
since
as far as the laws, were you just out there in the open by yourself, pretty much, or did they do their jobs or what they could do?
in the beginning, because I was, like I said, I was staying with one of my friends, and I had to go to the house and get something. So I had to call the MPs. And this the part I didn't know they did. So that's why with military people, they do this for you. They came, I think it was like three officers. One was outside in the front, one was in the backyard, one was in the house with me, and they had their hands on their guns,
Oh,
letting me able to go in
to get
and
what you
grab
needed.
what I need, and stuff like
Okay.
that.
Mm.
And my first son, he was there. So I grabbed what I needed and I left. But the crazy part, somebody told him I was at the house. So as soon as we
Wow.
were leaving, he was coming to the house. And I said, see, somebody's telling him stuff about
What's
what's
going
going
on?
on. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow. Wow. So,
Well, I just want to commend you. You're a strong woman. So,
Yes, ma'am. Thank
and
you.
I'm thankful that you were able to get help and and got free from it.
Yeah.
so my question is, during that time while you were in Alaska, were you able to talk to the garrison commander or your HR rep to move you without him knowing, saying, how you PCS from one duty station to the next? Were you able to PCS without him knowing where you were, or you had to stay there because you had the kids? Because certain situations in certain states, whereas if you're married, you can't take the kids and just leave the state.
Oh.
No, I asked my first son, can they move him since he was my dependent?
Okay.
And
Oh.
my first son at the time, he told me, no, we cannot. If he want to
Mm.
stay in Alaska, he can stay in Alaska. So he was
Mm.
there the whole time I was there. And I just stayed on post, so he couldn't get on post or whatever, because I think they had like the restraining order and all that stuff at the gate. So, but you will see him. I would see him if I went off post or whatever like that. But I had people that I thought was my friends would sneak him on, and yeah, and it
Wow.
was yeah. So it was in the beginning when I first told my first son about it. He was there, and then another female that we kind of fell out. She told him something else, like it doesn't matter what you do, she's still going to stay. So they didn't really do too much of nothing
Hmm.
until
Wow.
that day where he threatened me with the knife, and then they was like, "Oh my God,
Hell
he's
to
for real." But yeah,
Okay. We
yeah.
have a question from Stephanie Allen that's viewing right now, and her question is, did you see any red flags before you got married to him, or did he hide them, his true self, until after you were married?
that he hide his true self, because he would, like, we would talk, and he always talk about God. We always talked about the Bible, all this kind of stuff, and how he's a family man. Because I had my oldest daughter, he would, treat her like that, his own,
Okay.
and stuff like that. And it was just this big facade over everything.
Mm.
He used to be this and he used to be that, but I don't hang out, I don't drink no more, I don't smoke no more, and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, so we dated for like a year, and then he asked me to marry, and then we got married or whatever. But I didn't see no signs in the beginning. No, like controlling signs, nothing,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, I'm the kind of person that if I'm going somewhere, like, hey, I'm gonna run to the store, I'll be back, so you have no ways of worrying about where I'm at or what I'm doing. So I
Mm-hmm.
always, let him know. But after we got married, it just seemed like, because I always put it too that he wasn't used to the army life like I
Hmm.
am. We
Hmm.
work with a lot of males, we work with a lot of females. It depends on what your MOS. You know,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
so the Sergeant Major, if he say come in for formation at 1800, you
That's
got
what
to
it is.
go.
Yeah.
So no, and he didn't believe me. He thought I was out there cheating and stuff like that. So I had to take him one day to a
Mm.
formation, at 1800, and he looked, and everybody in the parking lot coming together. He like, oh, okay, but this was after,
Wow.
because we got married in Georgia and we moved to Alaska. So that's
Mm.
when all the army moving around and all that kind of stuff he wasn't used to, and it's his first time really being away from
Mm.
Georgia, kind of thing too. So, but yeah.
Okay. Howard had a question. Howard wants to know, uh, did the first sergeant share with you? Were you aware of the early dependent return when they have situations such as yours where they're causing problems? Maybe you came on a blotter for domestic violence, or you felt in fear of your life. Did the first sergeant, was he aware of the early dependent return? Because he's under your command, right? He's command sponsorship. That's what it's
Hmm.
called. When you're overseas, it's called command sponsorship. So he's under your command sponsorship. So therefore, like how we're saying, if you had issues, I think the first sergeant should have been able to, and the commander as well, been able to send them back. But were you aware of that policy?
I No, I wasn't. That's why I asked my first son at the time, can we send him back? But
Okay.
based off what somebody else was telling him, that, oh, she ain't gonna leave him, she's still gonna stay, that
Mm.
he didn't really pursue anything. So
Okay.
that's why I separated from him. I did everything I could for me, because I didn't see that my chain of command or anybody had my back on it.
Oh wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
okay.
then you had these birds chirping,
Yeah.
in his ear, people who you thought were for you who weren't
Yeah.
for you. And
Hmm.
yeah, and then you're left out there without that extra voice or that person to say, hey, this must be done.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And by, I think it should be by law that they should have done something to protect, to protect you in that standpoint, since he's on your,
My
so to speak,
orders.
yeah, your orders.
Hmm.
Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to be there.
Right.
So, go back to where you came from, send him back to Georgia. And then I think, that would have been better. But I had another question. How did this affect your children, or were they so young until they really don't have too many memories of it?
Well, his two, they were real. The two that I have by him, they were really young. My oldest one, you can see a difference in it, because he, like, now we're okay now, or whatever, and he'd be like, "Well, tell Peanut she's still my baby," and she'll look at me, but like, "No, he's not my dad," because my dad, a real dad, wouldn't do that to my mom,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. So she holds her own grudge against him. She'll speak if she see him, but for as any like kind of relationship like they used to have, because she used to call him dad. Until now, when they get older, they look back and she remembers certain things, and she'll
Hmm.
let me know. But yeah, so
But
Okay.
your other two kids, they do still have that relationship,
yeah, they
that
still have
father.
it, because that's
Yeah.
that they was young, because they was like maybe what, 3 or 4, because they're a year apart, so they
Okay.
was real
Yeah, they
young.
were
Yeah, so they
babies.
don't really
Okay.
remember too
Remember too
much.
much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, everybody's asking the question now. After the first time, why did you stay? Did you feel like you had to stay for the kids? Because most times in relationships such as these, they stay for the kids because they want to keep the family together, or you have that family member to say to you, girl, it's gonna get better. He just frustrated that he's in Alaska and he's not away he's away from his family or whatever the case may be. Did you hear those type of things from family members when you was like, hey, this dude knocking me upside my head, or he grabbing me, and like you said, he jumped on you in front of his family and nobody said anything. So is that uh if I saw that, I would probably say that he's seen that in his family. Maybe that's something that happens that he's comfortable with. He thinks that's the way you're supposed to treat a woman. Did you experience any of that?
With his mom, yeah, his mom, his dad used to be abusive towards his mom.
Okay.
And she told me one time, because I used to call the police because we were staying off post or whatever. And before we left, and she was like, "What goes on in your house stays in your house." And I looked at her, my mama told me not to do that. My mama
Ooh.
raised me differently. Yes.
Mm,
So,
mhm,
and then, I had 3 kids. I was in my 20s. Yes, I was in the army, but it's still hard raising kids in the military with you going back and forth to the field, deploying or whatever. And I'm like, who's going to help me with my kids? Oh my God, what am I going to do? And then, what really made me leave? Because I witnessed my mom and dad go through a lot growing up, and my mom stayed with my dad through it all, you
mm,
know. And I came home one day. I was on vacation and I went to her and I was telling her, and this the crazy part. I didn't tell her what had happened. My kids
mhm.
did.
Okay.
Yeah, my daughter, she was like, my daddy jumped on my mama and she was bleeding like that. And I looked at her and I looked at them and I looked at my mom. She like, what the, and
Yeah.
I was like, I said, "Ma, I ain't want to tell you because blah blah blah. I don't want you worried about me." I said, "I'm fine." Blah blah blah. And then she put me in her room, and she was like, "Just because I put up with stuff, don't mean y'all have to put up with it." And that's when I made in my mind that I'm not gonna do it no more because I seen what my mom went through growing up with a lot of different things with my dad. Not saying he was abusive or whatever, but she tolerated and put up with a lot.
Mhm,
And once she told me that, I said in my mind, I'm not putting up with it no more. My kids are more important and my life is more important than this man that I'm trying to change and trying to love and give my all and all to, and
mhm.
he don't want it. So that was the moment when I really like sat down and was like, you know what? She's right. Just because she did it don't mean we have to do it. And that's when I did it.
Wow. So you had one adult, because like you said, you was in your 20s, one adult telling you what happens in your house stays in your house, and then
Mm-hmm.
your mom saying, no, what I put up with, you don't have to put up with. So you
Yep.
had the positive and the, I don't want to say negative. I would say, what would you say, Fedora?
There,
Just a
I
terminology,
guess
a
that
medical
that
terminology.
yeah,
Generation. Yeah.
that generational curse that's on
Yep.
that family,
Yeah.
because it's apparent that with him thinking that that's okay or to do that, that showed that he had seen that somewhere in his lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
wherein that it was apparent to him that, okay, if it happened to my mom, then it's okay for it to happen for me to do it to someone else,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, and that was apparent that that's what the issue was. I wanted, did he, because you said you guys have a okay relationship now because you have to co-parent.
Mm-hmm.
Did he ever get help for his abuse? Did he ever seek therapy that you know of, or is still in therapy for it, to, I guess, so to speak, be reformed or
mm,
get help with his anger and know how to use his words to solve issues?
Yeah, he called me and he apologized. And he was crying on the phone. He apologized and told me that he apologized for everything. He said he went to counseling and something happened to him. I don't want to disclose when he was growing up
right.
Hmm.
that made him, act out and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And he didn't mean to take it out on me because he has a lot of kids, but my 2 daughters are the only one he ever seen born and the only ones that has his last name.
Mm,
So, I guess he takes my kids in a different perspective at the other ones. But
mm,
he did call me and apologize and he said he sought counseling. So now when I talk to him, it's not the angry person. You can
mm.
tell a difference in the tone of his voice. We can laugh and talk about whatever the girls are going through, and he's there when he can be or whatever and stuff like that because he's in Georgia. So, but yeah.
Okay, that's good. I'm thankful for that.
So someone has another question. Do you see violent tendencies in your children? Do you see violent tendencies in your children from what you went through? Because like you said, it's like Fedora was saying. Sometimes it's a generational thing.
Hmm.
So if he has those issues, do you see it in your kids now? And you have to control them and say, hey, look, there's a different way to handle that than the way you're handling that. You don't have to get angry and and be violent the way you are. You can talk about it, or they can come to you and you can, be that counselor for them to show them there's a better way to do it. If you see that in this type of violence in your kids.
Not really. My girls are they're different than I say they are for most kids and stuff. 'Cause they've seen a lot, and stuff like that. But they have their bickering where because they girls, they have their own personality and their own way of thinking and stuff. So they really don't fight. They might argue or
Mm,
whatever. And I have one that's a little bit meaner than the other one, but that's just I just
mm.
look at it as just being girls because it's five women in one house. So so you can
A lot of
only
hormones.
imagine
Right.
exactly,
Yes.
especially when
Mm,
everybody got their whatever for the month.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
right. Right.
But I just look at it as that because I sit down with them at least once a month and I
Okay.
try to like to get them to open up to
That's
to
good.
talk and stuff
That's good.
and they be like, "Oh, they go mama with her on her rant." But but that's to me that's just us to get out and they can talk about
Yeah.
whatever they want to talk about. I mostly do all the talking, but it's just me letting them know, I'm proud of them, I love them, what I
Hmm.
went through, I don't want y'all to ever go through, and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So I just try to show
Yeah.
them a positive path and hugging and kissing and loving on them
Yeah.
more,
Hmm.
and stuff
Mm,
like that. So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
always tell them they're beautiful because I
Hmm.
refuse to have a man come in and say, "Oh, baby, you beautiful," and
Uh-huh. And it
fall for the same things I did at a very
Right.
young age,
young age. Yeah.
and then end up being violent or whatever. So
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
as your daughters grow older, you give them that guidance of the red flags that Stephanie spoke about. Uh, to say if he starts doing this or he starts doing that, or this guy's saying this to you, be leery of that
hmm
person, and or come talk to me and I'll tell you exactly what's the next step of what he's going to do, or if you get to that point where don't ever be afraid to come talk to me if one of these guys that you're dating or you think about dating and they put their hands on you or they're because like you said, it doesn't have to be physical; it could be verbally as well.
hmm
Hmm.
Did you discuss that with them as well, as well as the physical, but the verbal? Because some people
yes,
think, okay, mama got hit, but this guy talking crazy to me, calling me out my name, and this, and this. So
Hmm.
you have
That
those skills.
emotional abuse. Yeah.
Yeah.
yes. My I have a 20-year-old. She's going to be 21 this next week,
Mm.
and she was dating a guy, and this guy was so jealous. Every time she would go somewhere, if they out somewhere and she see a classmate, she'll speak. He gets mad. So I told her, I said, Peter, I'm gonna tell you, it starts from there. I
Mm,
said, you don't want to be in the same situation that I was in. I said, so I don't think this is the right guy for you. She
Mm.
wanted to be her own person, and she finally realized, Mom, you was right. And I told her, I said, it starts there. They try to get in your head. They
Yep.
try to tell you, everything that you're doing is wrong. You just got to trust them and believe them. They're gonna and she I'm glad she opened her eyes at a very young
Mhm.
age to see that this guy wasn't the guy for her. But yeah, I tell them everything is the verbal, the mental, and everything. I was in a relationship after, and I would tell people, I said, and it was more of a mental abuse
mm,
because is the statistics show that once you've been in a one abusive relationship, your next one will also be abusive as well. It might not be the same, but it will be an abusive. And this one was a more mental and in my head abuse than it was physical. And I would
mm,
tell people I'd rather get hit than to be in my head. Because once you're in your head, it takes you to another level,
Yeah, it
and
does. Hmm.
it just messes with you a whole lot more. So,
mm.
but yeah, I talk to my daughters about all the different signs and ways to look at stuff, and
Hmm.
sometimes I might overanalyze, but that's just me because
Hey,
whatever I've been through. So,
You're
it's
just being,
best to be over analytical than under,
yes,
and
hmm
yeah, and like you say, the emotional is worse, and it's harder for it to be pinpointed
hmm
because it's not tangible.
yeah,
You can't touch it, you can't manipulate it. So
yeah,
it's like, you might say something to somebody that think that you're kind of off, or, oh no, I don't see it that way. Like, oh
yeah,
my gosh, he's so nice,
right.
when he's
yeah,
around. Oh, and then in the back of their mind, they're thinking, oh, something must be wrong with her.
hmm
But as like friends and family and stuff, they need to be aware, of those little subtle
Yes.
signs from, different individuals who, for whatever reason that they're, presenting themselves in the manners that they, do as an abusive person.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So
So someone else asked a question. Did you do family counseling as well, or you just did individual counseling?
I did counseling for me. I didn't at the time. To me now they have more resources that I know of. Back then I didn't really know of anything, based growing up in a family where like you most of us did, we did keep everything in the house. We didn't talk,
Right.
we talked amongst each other. So, being now that I, part of different organizations and doing different things with this domestic violence stuff, you learn a lot that, I didn't know that
was
was
available.
available back
Mhm.
then, and stuff like that. So I went to counseling. It took a toll on me after my mom passed away, so I needed to seek counsel because she was my go-to person.
Mm,
She would always encourage me, and stuff like that. She was the one who really made me open my eyes and see that you had to go. So after
mm,
she passed, I felt like I didn't have no one. So I did go to counseling. And then when you start talking about it and stuff, I used to cry like all the time when I used to tell my
right.
story. Every time you turn around, I'm crying about it or whatever. But my daughters were asking me this morning. She said, "You gonna cry?" I was like, "You know what, Peanut?" I said, "I done got past that stage."
Hmm.
I said,
Mhm.
"I'm happy. I'm
Yeah.
alive. I'm still here. God's still using me for whatever He gonna use me for." So
Yes.
I just look at it in a totally different way than I used to. So, but yeah, I
Mhm.
got help for myself. But I will always ask my girls, "Yeah, how do y'all feel about this? What do y'all want to do? Y'all need to go to counseling." They're
Hmm.
like, "Mom, we're fine." But my kids, they will let you know
Yeah.
if something ain't right. Even
Right.
my
That's good.
5-year-old. So, but yeah.
That's
That's
good
good.
stuff.
That's
Yeah.
good.
So I'm gonna ask the question that Howard had. They're having a discussion. So as Army leaders, did you feel that they failed you a little bit by not reaching out or getting involved when you reached out to them to say, "Hey, I need your help. This guy, I fear for my life." Do you think that the leadership could have done a lot more than what they've done instead of saying, "I don't want to get involved," or that's her situation?
I feel that they could have, but I had a my S1, she was E7,
Mm,
and her name Teresa Johnson. She the one that took me in her house, and I stayed with her for like 2 or 3 months.
mm,
After my surgery, I stayed with her. So she was not in my chain of command per se, but she was one of the ones that I really looked up to
mm,
as a mentor while I was in the army. So when I say she helped me out, because I was staying at one of my best friend's house, and I moved. She said, "Come stay with me. I just feel comfortable with you under
mm,
my house." Because my other friend, she was just her and her son, but it
yeah.
was in the E7. It was her husband, her son, and her daughter. So soon as I left to go to her house, he rode past the other friend house and bust her windows because
Oh
he
my
thought I was
gosh.
there.
What the?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yes. So that's why with her, me and her still, this is like we both out the army. I think she in South Carolina somewhere, but we still keep in contact. I love her like she's my mother, sister,
Mm,
auntie, whatever. She's always
mm,
been there for me. But I
good.
as my first sergeant in my command, I don't even think my first sergeant told my commander what was going on because of the other person telling him, "Oh, she's not going nowhere. She's going to stay." And stuff like that. Yeah, I stayed for years. I mean, it was only 3 years, but I still stayed because I looked at, I'm young, 3 kids. Ain't nobody gonna want nobody with 3 kids.
Mm,
And he told me that ain't nobody gonna want you. You gonna have 3 kids. Who gonna want to be with you? And stuff like that. And I had another guy after that told me the same things. I was like, dang,
wow.
but I just say, but God. That's it.
Um,
That's it. You
wow.
came out on the better end of it.
Yes, yes.
Blessing.
So do you think your self-esteem was affected after the abuse because you felt that maybe, um, like you said, no guy's gonna want you. So the first person that comes along, you're like, somebody wants me. I'm beautiful again, or whatever the case may be. Uh, After that, did you feel like your self-esteem was affected?
Yes. I'm glad you asked that question. Yes, because I started dating my second husband.
Hmm.
And he had no kids. I'm like I said, a single parent with three. I had just got out the army, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to move back home, but I can't. I'm in Alaska, blah blah blah. So this guy, my second ex-husband, he came along, and he he was like this angel sent.
Mm.
He just was, to me, this, my aunt tell him, the perfect guy, and stuff like that. You know how your
Okay.
aunts them. And because see, they think because he had no kids, he wanted me and my three kids, that this was the best thing that I ever happened to me.
Mm.
He was, when I say he spoiled me, he bought any, he would never tell me no, even though he could have, but he would never
Mm.
tell me no, and stuff like that. And my girls to this day, my daughters, they're close with their real dad, but my second ex-husband, that's their dad. That's
Mm.
like he well, I want to say connected to them first, and
Mm.
got them to love him and want to be whatever. So that made me like, okay, well, it might not be true. Somebody will want me,
Mm.
and this was the relationship that was more of a mental and psychological abuse.
Mm.
It wasn't, he would never hit put his hands on me, but he wouldn't talk. So I wouldn't know, this is after we got married. I guess he like, well, I got it now. I ain't got to do nothing else, whatever. I ain't got to woo no more. So that's what that's what I say.
You got the
Once you
woo.
get married, that don't mean the wooing stop. You got to keep
Yeah,
wooing,
you got to
Yeah.
keep on. Yep,
Shauna be
for
saying,
sure.
Shauna, Fedora be saying the shivery. You got to do
That's
the
right.
shivery.
it
The
can't
shivery
die. It
was
got to
It
keep
gone
can't
going.
before
die.
I
That's
do.
right.
He's
That's
like,
Can't
right.
yeah,
die.
gotta.
Look.
Till you die. Yep.
Yeah, that's it. That's what he thought. He got me. But
Mm,
it was, to me, that's the one that hurt me. It still hurt because we just got our divorce in January. That this marriage hurt more than the other one because of, I
mm,
put my all into it, because I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna be like before. I'm gonna
Mm.
be open. I'm gonna talk. I'm gonna communicate. And he was the total opposite after we got married. He shut down. We would be I want to have a conversation. I was older than him, and I want to have a conversation with my husband
mm.
about certain situations, and he'll be just looking over my head, wouldn't be paying me no attention. So I'm like, am I crazy or something? I know this is, and stuff like that. And then when he would get mad, he'll let it build up, and then when he leashed it out, oh my God, it make you feel
It
like he
was
was this
her.
small.
Oh
People
wow.
look like, oh, not him. He don't. I'm like, okay. I say he's a very mean man. He's
Mm-hmm.
loving. He'll give me, like, he'll give you whatever you want, but his attitudes on certain things and stuff, he was very mean and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I remember one time his mom said, "How you get him to go to church?" I said, "I asked him." So because she had this attitude too. So I'm like, okay, that's where you get it from. And stuff like that. So, but I tried, and I tried to make it work. My mom always, people always ask my mom, why do my nickname is Pumpkin? Why Pumpkin always stay? Why she stay? She said my mom always used to tell her because she always wants stuff to work out. And I try. I look at my kids. And what made me decide on this one to leave is because it was right before he went overseas to work, and we got in this big argument, and it was mainly my fault and stuff like that. But the way he leashed it out, and the way he was talking to me and saying all this stuff, and I'm sitting there like, okay, you done did a lot of stuff throughout the years, but I never said I was wanted to leave you. I never said I wanted to divorce. I always wanted to work it out,
Mm.
and it flipped. And when he said it, I was like, okay, that's what you want. That's what you gonna
What you
get.
gonna get?
I said, 'cause this
Mm-hmm.
ain't this Shauna is trying to change, and I refuse. Like I tell
It's
people, I
the
refuse
new
to let my
Shauna.
kids, let
The
my
new
girls. I got 4 girls. I refuse to
Mm-hmm.
let them see that this is the kind of way you're supposed to be talked to, or this is the way
Mm.
you're supposed to be treated, and stuff like that. So that was it's still kind of taking a toll on me with this one, because I had a surgery. I had my tubes tied, I had reversed my tubes, because he had no kids, and I gave him a
Mm-hmm.
child, and because I loved him. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
nothing about no money. It was nothing. I genuinely loved him, and
Mm.
stuff like that. So, but
Yeah,
life goes on,
Okay.
and I'm just living on top right now. So I'm
Okay.
loving it.
That's good.
that's
That's
good.
real good. Yeah, you got a lot of people supporting you out here that's watching us, and I know she's very appreciative of what you're saying. They're saying, continue to be strong. They're proud that you got the strength to walk away from it. Um, you know, they're glad that you're talking to your daughters about it. You're informing them about
Mhm.
what you went through, so that they don't have to go through the
Mhm.
same thing. Because it's hard. Um, and like Howard was saying, they he may not have understood the you. Did you discuss some of this with him prior to getting married to him when he asked you to say, hey, look, dude, uh, I've been in this type of relationship, and I'm not about to do
Mhm.
this with you. So if this is what you trying to do, then you need to keep it moving. Because I can still take care of my kids without you. Did you have that conversation with him prior to?
He knew everything. He knew about the fear of the divorce and
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. So when he asked me to marry him, he said, "Now you shouldn't be scared no more because I got you. I'm gonna take care of you and your kids." So he instilled that trust. I trusted that he was going to
Mhm.
do that. He was going to be there, and stuff like that. He knew everything. He even met him one day, and he didn't whimper down when he met him. He had, he was confident. Okay, this is my woman now. I'm going to take care of her and the kids, and
Mhm.
stuff like that. And and him and my ex, they get along fine. He thanks him all the time for coming in and taking care of the girls, and and stuff like that. I tell people that what we had in the beginning, it was good, and stuff like that, because we would take classes together, so I'm thinking like, oh my goodness, we finna
Yeah,
build and we finna
yeah.
be.
It's
And
gonna
but
be the
he would
30
not
year one.
tell me, yeah, but he
Mhm.
would not tell me a lot of stuff. He would keep a lot of stuff. I felt like that dependent, what we used to talk about in the military. They didn't know nothing.
Right.
They husband controlled, and that's what I
Mhm.
felt like. And I was out the army, so
Okay.
I wasn't able to know what was going on because I wasn't in. But and I
Mhm.
would tell him, I was like, I'm not stupid now. I was in the army for 13 years, a staff sergeant. So I know, certain things. They ain't changed that much. So
Right.
he would try to pull that over my head, like, oh no, you don't know, you ain't in the army no more. They don't do that. I hadn't been out that long. So
Right.
Mhm.
yeah, I
Right.
guess he thought I was just some young person that just gonna like, okay, honey. No, I'm gonna ask questions.
Uh,
So
yeah. So
Mhm.
so I'm gonna ask because Fedora. I know Fedora want to ask her, so I'm gonna ask it for her. Did you? Because we
Okay.
Aries, we right here, Fedora.
I know. I
Right.
know.
So so uh, prior to both of your marriages, did you seek spiritual counseling? Did you go through the counseling processes and say, yeah, you guys are for each other, or just say, you know what, I know what I want. I don't need that. As long as he's church going and he go to church with me, I'm good with that. I mean, was that it? I mean, did
the
you go to the
the
pastor
first
like?
one,
Because
the
you from
first one, no.
Georgia, you from Georgia, I'm from South
Yeah.
Carolina, Fedora from Florida, and that's what the old folk say. Go talk to God about it first, you know.
Mhm.
So you got to
Go
go
get
talk to
that
God,
counseling,
man,
that
and then you go
foundation.
talk to God and the pastor, and you still in a bad relationship. So I mean, I'm just being real with it, you know.
Being real.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
first one I didn't, but I was young, and I'm gonna say this. My mom, she passed away a couple years ago, but she would always tell me after we separated, I told you so. I told you he wasn't the one. But
Why they always do that after?
girl,
You like,
after,
speak your piece, okay?
so
But they be
I was
mamas.
like,
Mhm.
okay, mom,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I think I did that because she said something bad. You always want
Okay.
to go. So, but with the second one, we went to counseling. We
Okay.
actually, with church we
Mhm.
was going to in Alaska, we seek counseling and everything. But you know how they put on that facade in front of everybody, like they just the best person in the world.
Mm,
Yes.
The
That's
representative. That's what
yes,
I
it
like to
ain't yeah,
call
not that's exactly what he did. His
wow.
representative was there every time we was in public,
them. Mhm.
and stuff like that. And then with the first husband, people were like, I don't see it because every time y'all together, I said, I know how to turn it on and turn it off. Okay.
Mm,
I could be in public and you will never know we arguing, but when soon as we get back home and step across that threshold, oh, you gonna know we back arguing. But when we was in public, I didn't show nothing because you always can tell that he was looking at you,
mm,
out the side of his
Mhm.
eye, or if you're gonna say something, he's gonna say something to you when you got home. Because it was one incident. I know I'm off subject, but we was one incident. We had went out with some friends.
mm,
We got into it at the club, and I was in the front seat with my friend's husband, and she was in the back with him, and he's sitting behind me, and he was telling her, I'm gonna kill you. You just saying he was drinking, and he was saying
Whoa.
stuff. You better come home. You better come home tonight. And she looked at him. She is not staying with you. Her and the girls are going to stay at my house. So we end up staying there. So he thought I was at her house, but I had went to my other friend's house.
Mm.
So he walked way. It was like almost, oh Lord, from, I could say, the Walmart Dyer all the way to like Hondo Pass. He
Whoa.
walked all the
Wow.
way that far to see where I was at,
Mm.
because he didn't believe that I was going to stay at her house. He thought I was somewhere else. But me and my kids stayed at my friend's house. So it was just a lot. It was just a
Okay.
lot.
Hmm.
Got another question for you. Did the issues with your marriages change your ability to be trusting and open to love again?
This one, yes.
Mm.
I I'm very particular. I really haven't started dating. I'll go out to dinner and was before Corona, whatever. But really I haven't felt myself, if I well, it was one guy that I was liking, and we started talking or whatever, but I guess my vulnerability, because I want to be loved, took over. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah, I
And
know what you
and then
mean.
I got scared because I didn't like that feeling, and I pushed
Mm,
back.
mm-hmm,
You let the person know what you're feeling, then you push back because you're like, no, 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 this ain't it, this ain't it,
mm-mm.
kind of thing. Because I don't
'Cause you
want
got
to
to
be
keep your
hurt
guard
again.
up.
Yes, and I don't
Yeah,
want,
you got to guard your heart.
eventually I
Mm.
will probably let my guard down, and but I think it's gonna take a while. A lot of my like older friends, girl, it's gonna take like 5 years, girl, it's gonna take like 10 years. I'm like,
Yeah.
dang, I'm be old then.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
you know.
You
I
still
So
young. You still young, but it will take some time. And I will
yes,
tell you this: work on you.
yes,
You be
and that's what I've been doing.
selfish.
Yep.
Yeah, you work on you and you get yourself to 100%. And then you know what? You don't have to worry about it. God will just open it up, and before and you'll look around, and before you know it, that person that He has for you will migrate towards you.
Yeah.
And hopefully you will be at that point to be able to receive that person.
Yeah.
Because I mean, people come into our lives all the time, but you have to be on that same page.
Yes.
Mm.
And if you're not on that same page, you can love that person or you can be the best friend to that person in the world. But if you're not there on that same page, then
Mhm.
it won't work.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Mm.
but I'm proud of you that you taking the steps and doing the things that you need to remain whole and be whole.
Mhm.
But like you say, guard your heart. You
Yeah.
have to. It's yours, and you're a temple, so
Oh
you're
yeah.
His child. So yeah, you got and He'll guide you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to word this, Fedora, but I'm going to ask this. Are these actions results of PTSD as Black America?
For
Going
me.
through these types of issues, like Julie said that uh, women in the South was trained to keep business house business.
Mhm.
So if it's like that, and you have to go out into the world, I would just transition to what Howard's saying. Would just be like a form of PTSD for you, knowing that um, in Black America, this is what we're trained to do. Do
Yeah,
you
because
agree?
we are trained to just sweep it under the rug and just keep going. You
Mm,
know,
Or stay in
I'm
it.
like, yeah, stay in it until it changes, and most of the time it don't change.
Mm-mm.
To me, I don't. To me, like my spiritual side, I tell people I don't claim nothing. I don't speak nothing over my life that I don't want. Only thing I tell people I claim is this back pain in my knees. That's
mm,
about it. But because they hurt all the time. But I don't claim nothing because I know I got people in my life that I can go to. I got, I can always turn to God almost every day. He probably tired of me because I'm always in his ear, on his
mm,
phone call, on his line,
yeah.
and I done got more closer now than I ever been before. And I just think, but I mean, I don't claim PTSD because to me, is I can get over it. I can overcome it and I will overcome it.
Mm,
And I have come a long way. I have people, I'll be posting stuff on Facebook. They like I'm an inspiration to them and stuff like that. But I have my days when I look in the mirror like, dang girl, you ugly today. and I just feel down, because I look back over all the stuff that I say to me, I let happen because I could have changed, I could have stopped, or whatever. But, and then some days I get up and, I just remember what my grandma said, that you're a strong woman. You came for me. You strong,
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then I'll get up and I
Mm.
push my way through it, and stuff like that. People complain about, oh, I got this. I got 4 kids, a mortgage, and I'm still every day. I'm grinding. I get up every morning at 3:45, 4 o'clock. I've been working out. I praise God. I get up, go to work, come home, and cook for my kids if they ain't already cooked. And then, and I think that I have instilled in my kids because, my aunt came to visit in the beginning of the year. She like, you got the most thank you, mama kids I ever seen in my life,
Mm.
That's
because
good.
they appreciate, and they see the struggle that I go through, Like I had
Mm.
went home to visit my dad. I came back, my kids and cleaned my room up. I was like, look at this,
Oh,
so they did that,
I thought you
so
was like crying.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you, baby. 'Cause now I ain't got to worry about pushing these clothes to the side,
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I feel that it's a struggle, but then again, I'm surviving. I'm
Yep.
surviving every day. I look at their faces every day. I got my 5-year-old. Everybody know Miss Tootie.
Mm.
Tootie is the biggest supporter of anything. She tell
Mm.
me all the time, like I'm in there getting cute, to be on camera. You don't
Right.
need makeup, mom. You're just beautiful like you is, mom. You don't need that. You don't need that on your head. Your hair just fine. That's my
That's
Tootie.
it.
Everybody know
Uh-huh.
Tootie. So, I just
You.
thank God that what I went through. Because I don't look like nothing that I've been through. You'll never tell that I've been through the slums, shopping at the Goodwill and stuff, getting my kids because we didn't have. But,
Mhm.
and I tell people nobody but God, but my kids are so grateful and thankful that, when I can, I can, but when I can't, they know that I can't and they
Mhm.
don't even complain. So I just, just thank God on everything that I've been through because if I wouldn't have went through, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. So
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
That's good.
Stronger for it.
Yeah.
Blessed.
yeah.
Yeah. And you sharing your story with us today that could help somebody. If they
Hmm.
look at this broadcast, it could help somebody, and somebody can say, if she did it, then I can do it, and I'm not
Mhm.
alone. So
Hmm.
we thank you for sharing your story with us. We know
Yes.
that. Well, I know they probably don't know. I know that you're a part of a few organizations that do domestic violence. Would you tell them a little bit about what y'all do and how y'all support domestic violence with the women going on in El Paso and state of Texas, I guess, right?
Hmm. Whole
Okay.
state. So it's the ladies of the Circle of Perfection. It's the low cop ladies for the Masonic organization here in the state of Texas and then the national level as well. Well, we're here, us in El Paso, we adopted a La Posada home and we give back to them every year. We school supplies, cleaning supplies, Christmas parties, you name it, we're there for these ladies and stuff like that. We'll go down to the before Corona hit, we'll go down to the center. They will give us a tour. We do barbecues for them and the kids and stuff like that. So, like I was saying, when I was going through, I didn't know they had all these places and all these help out here for people to come because there's a lot of people. I was talking with my prayer group, with my church out of North Carolina, Rayford, North Carolina, and they was talking about a lady. She stayed for 30 some years
Wow.
and
And
she had kids in an abusive relationship and she finally left. But they was like, well, why do they stay so long? Because we feel that we don't have no support. We feel we
Don't
can't
have
make it
anywhere else to
without
go.
them. Yeah.
Mhm.
And with us, with me joining the low cop, and everybody know this is my baby. I'm the deputy for the state, I mean for El Paso.
mhm,
And then, when we joined the national level, I just love to give back, and then we once a year we'll meet whatever the state, I mean the city that we're in, and
mhm,
we'll go visit their domestic violence home there, and we give out stuff to them, and we listen to the stories, and you listen. I look at my story and say it's nothing to compare to a lot of these women what they went through,
mhm,
and stuff, and I just watch a lot of stuff on like the YouTube video. There was a lady on there, she was her abuser was with her at a doctor's appointment, had a gun in his side.
Oh Lord.
And he told her if she said anything, he was going to kill her. So,
mhm,
but she got the nerve. She went to the bathroom. He couldn't go with her. So she wrote a note and she gave it to the nurse staff and she went back in the room. So they read it, they called the police and
And
took him
got
away.
him.
So
Mhm.
it's it's certain things. Like I know there's a thing, because we had a, when I first joined the Ladies of the Circle Profession, the lockout here, we had a it was a training, and it was like combat, like hand to hand combat to help women's for self defense. And
Mm,
then they was asking a lot of questions on how we can help. So they got a thing where you put a dot in the middle of your palm, and you go around people and you just like waving your hand, but you
mm,
have this dot, and this dot lets people know that you're in a domestic violence relationship and you need help.
You help
mm,
right then
But
and
a lot
there.
of people don't know that they have these signs. When I
Mm-mm.
went to my counseling in Alaska, we had they had a thing where I had my go-to person. Like if
mm,
I call him and say, "Boy, I sure want a hamburger." Hamburger was my word,
mm,
to let them know that I need somebody to come to my house for support. So, but we have a lot of women, and it's heartbreaking because you go there and they have little kids and they don't have anything. And then when they see us come, the kids are like, "Thank you so much. Thank you for helping us. Thank you for being there for us," and just listen to their story. You just sit down and just talk with them, and it just makes me happy. And at first, I would go and I would get all teary eyed because I'm like, dang, that could have been me. That
mm.
could I could have
Mhm.
been in this situation, but
Right.
God see fit for me to leave early, and then it's just a lot of stuff here. And it was one time we went, it was a black family, and that really touched my heart.
Yeah.
She had like 3 kids and stuff like that. When you leave with what you got,
Mm,
and you can tell they left with what they had on, and it
Have.
wasn't much. And then whatever we give from out of us to the center or whatever. And then we was in I can't remember what city we was in, but we went to visit one, and this one they take people from all over the world,
mm,
from Africa,
Mm.
India, anywhere.
mm,
They had one lady, her arm was broke right here, but he would take her to the hospital, so it healed like in a V.
Uh.
It healed, but I mean, she was sweeping. They asked, "Does it bother?" She said, "No, not no more." But but they left. They left from wherever country they was in, and this place they took them in,
okay.
and stuff like that. So, but I just love. That's why I got on my purple in my peak, because the purple ribbon and the breast
Yeah.
cancer awareness. But yeah, I just love
Mhm.
that house because we do so much throughout the state of Texas. And then we represent on the national level as well. And I ran for the queen for the national level for the first time in the state of Texas, and I won and stuff
Oh,
like that.
congratulations.
So I just
Mhm.
it's my passion to give back and to help. When they say
Yeah.
that we're gonna go do this, I don't care if it's just a regular homeless shelter, whatever. I'm willing to give because I know what I had to go through with
Right.
4 kids shopping at Savers and the Goodwill trying to get stuff because I didn't have, and
Mm,
stuff like that. So now that God has blessed me beyond measures, that I would never think that I would be at this point, that I just give back to whatever I can and support and try to show people. And then, if anybody ever need help with anything, I'm more than willing to do. And sometimes my dad said, "You're too generous. So
mm.
they're gonna take advantage of you." But that's just me. I'm a
Yeah.
very giving and loving person, because when I was going through, I didn't have that support,
Right.
Mhm.
like I really wanted. So, but so when I see people in need or see stuff is going on, or they ask and say, "Hey, we're gonna go do this," I'm one of the first ones to jump up and say, "Hey, I'll help y'all." So
Yeah.
And
Right.
how can the public donate items or money or things of that nature? How can you donate
well, you
to the
call
organization?
the La Posada home, or if you want to do the organization, it depends. You can get in contact with one of us, and we will be more than welcome to assist in you giving to the organization or to the home. And we can call up the home and say, "What supplies do you need?" That's what we usually do, and ask them what do they need and what they short of, or whatever, and stuff like that. And then that's how we give, and based on that. But they have people just give to them throughout, just all year round and whatever and stuff like that. But since
Mhm.
the corona hit, we just been doing a lot of cleaning supplies as we can get them, and and a lot of clothes and stuff that we clean, not spring cleaning and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So, but yeah, you
Mhm.
can just contact any of us or just call the shelter on your own, and they'd be more than take whatever we can give.
Okay. All right.
So,
Great.
All
And
right.
it's called La Posada.
yes, La Posada
La
home.
Posada Home. All right.
Yeah. I think I've seen that before. Yeah. If our producers can show y'all the 1-800, there's a 1-800 hotline for domestic violence as well. So, for those of you out there that know that's going through domestic violence, or know of anybody that's going through domestic violence, here's the number at the bottom: 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-SAFE. Don't be afraid. You're not alone. And like Shauna saying, you know, these places that she's talking about, they'll keep you safe. They'll keep you
Oh
safe,
yes.
and they'll get you the help that you need. Uh, Not
Mhm.
only you, but your family as well. If you have kids, they'll get the help that you need. So you don't have to live in fear. You can seek help, and they'll help you. So
Yeah.
um, that's a good thing. That's
Yeah. And just remember, don't worry about being embarrassed. Just know that you're not alone
yeah.
and there is help. Just take that
And it,
first step and somebody will grab you by the hand and keep
mhm.
guiding you.
That's
Yep,
it.
it's free and it's confidential. 24
Yep.
hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So don't be afraid to reach out and call them, and they'll help you because, uh, like Shauna's saying, you don't have to be in this forever. Sometimes it takes somebody to push you out on faith and get you right. So yeah, yeah. So
I just want to say one last thing.
go ahead.
We always think that it's women, men as well get abused, and they're more embarrassed than anything because they think that they're supposed to be this masculine figure or the head of the household, and they get abused as well. So
Mm,
just let everybody know it's not just women that are out here getting abused; it's men as well. So
Hmm.
right,
Yep.
right.
Right.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So we've come to the end of another Sweet 915 episode. Shauna Battle, we thank you for sharing. We
Thank you
applaud
so
you.
much.
We applaud
Hmm.
you for doing
Yes.
what you're doing and holding your head high and continue to move on with your life.
Yep.
And may God continue to bless you in all your travels and everything that you do. And your low cop organization as well. Ladies, we appreciate what you're doing for the community, nationally, state, and locally. Those women need you, so continue to do what you're doing. Before we
Hmm.
leave, would you? My advice to you: what would you tell women that's going through domestic violence? What advice would you give men or women that are in domestic violence, domestic abuse relationships, not domestic violence, but domestic abuse? What would you tell them? What advice would
don't
you give?
keep don't keep it a secret. Let somebody know because you never know who's going to be there. But just let somebody know. Don't be scared. They can't hurt you if you're not there.
Mm,
So if you go to the store, he lets you go to the store or whatever, and just leave that way. You can always call the police and they can get your kids out. So don't be scared to say something. Always speak up and don't hold it in. Just because our family, our ancestors held a lot of stuff in doesn't mean that our generation or generations after us have to hold it in. Just speak up and let it be known.
mm,
Yep.
yeah,
Excellent.
yeah. Miss Fedora, anything for the people before we leave today?
Um, just what I always say, keep love in your heart and please go and vote. Early
Yeah,
voting is almost finished. I think next week will be the last before we have the, November 3rd. So try to get out this week to vote. And vote like your life depends on it because it does. So
yeah,
you can early vote. You can find out voting polls at epcountyvotes.com. And find out who you want to vote for. By now we all should know, but if you still are unsure, look on those sites and get some insight on the candidates and go and cast your vote.
yeah. And subscribe to our YouTube channel at sweet915.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And remember, we're still looking for guests to be on our show, The Real. So if you want to be a guest, just email us at the real sweet915 at gmail.com. And thank you for tuning in again. And remember, no topic is taboo, and life
None.
is sweet. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you, Shauna.
Thank you.
All right.